Let's get the show going here. Anyway, so this is the little beast that we're looking at here. One problem that I've discovered is that it has a very weak joystick. Hopefully the microphone is picking up on this camera. Now you don't need a whole lot to do this fix. You need a screw. I hope this kind of screw is going to be doing the job. We'll see. You need a power driver. Some drill bits. I've already pre-drilled out with the first 4. That should be sufficient, but we'll find out. And the screwdriver bits. Now, I'll also be using a screwdriver like this. So let's get into this little problem. And I'm also going to use some glue put in there so that it will hold better than just the screw itself. So let's open up the controller. It's only 4. Get maximum lighting going here so I can see what I'm doing. There's only 13 screws in there. Okay, there it goes. Come on. So, 2, 3, there's a 4th. I see it down in there still. Just wants to stay put. Okay, we'll set it aside the base. You can see it's got a couple weights in there that make it feel at least a little heavier. And we got a basic circuit board right there, so another 4 screws. Okay, just pull out the motherboard itself. There's not a whole lot going on in here. We have basic contacts, 4 points for the joystick, and another 8 points going on for the various little buttons. There's a chip in the center, and that's about all. Special custom for this system. And then we got the actual joystick housing itself. Another 4 screws. Same screwdriver. Yeah. Okay, no problem. Just a little X piece right there. One little spring. And 4 screws that go somewhere. So one, they're all the same. Oh, another one came out. Or did it? I heard it come out. Okay, these little buttons. Let's see here. That joystick likes to stay in place. That's because that's the underside. It's got an actual hold, so let's get the 13th screw out of there. I've already drilled it out, so there's not much it's holding in with. Okay, there it goes. Got a washer piece and an actual joystick half. And now this portion should come right out. Now let's get to those little loose screws that went somewhere. Ah, doesn't matter. There's that little screw. Okay, so what we're concentrating on, set those aside. Is this guy. Now what I did before is I took my power driver turned it on, made sure it was nice and level, which it is, and proceeded to drill into the actual hole. Now it just went like that. Like I said, I already pre-drilled, so it just went like that real easy. I found that there were little chambers inside. It was otherwise hollow, and this is a good thing. And then I stepped it up with each of the bits afterwards. This one, and then I went to this one. And then I just drilled it in like that. Well, since I already drilled it, I'm not going to show you how it worked too well, but with a little more speed than that, but it still was pretty easy. I didn't go any farther in with what that bit allowed me. So what tonight we're going to try to do is see how much larger the screw thickness actually is, and see if I need to do any farther modifications, or if I actually need to try and find a smaller screw. Hopefully the choice that I made will do just fine. Okay. Set the drill aside, and let's see how easy it goes in. I have not tried this yet, so I don't know. I may want to go 1 bit size larger. So we'll go with number 5. See how easy that is? I'm not even using very much force. Okay, we'll put the 4th bit or 5th bit back. I'll go with a screwdriver bit. See, I probably want to use PH1. A little bit of slack, but I think that's okay. Okay, let's see if I can. How can I do this? Do be careful. It is power equipment after all. Only I had 3 hands. Okay, it's going in. That's good. That's good. My bit went in. Okay, we're still good, I think. Maybe not. Give it a little more tightness. Now let's try to drive that screw in again. I'm hoping this operation will work like it should and goes in and doesn't destroy the joystick, but it's the risk you take. I don't think we're having much success here. No, I don't think we're having much success at all. So... okay, let's see, it's... okay. Bump your work table, that's always good. Okay, let's try taking up 2. driver bit 6. Take it nice and gentle. Okay, let's see here. Forward screw, driver bit in screw. Try to put it in here. Try to hold it steady. And yeah, let's see here. Try to line it up. Okay. Very slow and cautious. Okay, seems to be going in. It's giving me some resistance. This seems to be working. That's what I want to see. Stick does not seem to be falling apart. Let's see, that looks good. Let's see how much farther I can get it in. A little bit of force here. Okay. So that appears to be good. Oh, we got a little bit of a force break there, but I was willing to take that chance. Okay. Now let's see how hard it is to make it work from this point. How did this go back together? Okay, fumble fingers. Now that we got it drilled in, let's take it back out. Attempt 2. Attempt 2, I mean. It's a little strip from the force. Okay. Okay, let's get the second screw out. I stripped the head off the first one, so we'll consider that a partial success. There's a little peg on there. You want to have a line inside. Let's see here. This one didn't it? There we go. Have it a line in there. Okay, you want to have a line in there like that. And then let's see how this will work. Okay, that's not how we want it to go in. I think I'll need to pre-tap that little hole there too. I think. Tight as it wants to go. Okay, that seems to be a good success. Okay, now. Oh. Whoopsie. Anyway, I'm not going to drill that, try to get that piece back on there. So, let's see here. Actually, yes, I am. Line it back up in there. Did it have a priority? Yes, it did. Interesting. Okay, so put the washer on. Put the stick on. Again, it's got a little tab it wants to line up with in there, although we may not really care about that tab too much. Okay. Going in very easy now. The threads are in place. Yes. Okay. That went about as good as I was hoping it would. Now, let's see if the thing works now that I put it back together. Looks like it will. Okay, let's see here. And you always want to tighten up just a little bit more by hand before you move on to the next step. Let's see, what was that next step? Okay, I think it was... Uh-oh. Yeah, okay. Errors will happen, especially when you're not thinking step by step. Put in your spring, and then apply. Stop grabbing onto my gloves. Put on the spring, hold down, and then reapply the screws. No, I didn't screw that in very well, did I? That's way better. Why don't I take these gloves off? I put them on because I was thinking about using glue, but the glue was unnecessary. And now I'm just getting in the way of putting in these screws. Much better. Okay, that one might be a little stripped, as long as it holds. Let's see, we got the circuit board, and then we got the little buttons here. I think all the buttons were the same, so that makes it easy enough. Little triangular ones in the corner. Are they proprietary or what? Maybe they are. Let's see here, put on the circuit board. Now we got the big buttons first. That button shook out. Let's put it back in place. Now let's get the circuit board in place carefully because it's got cord. Although with this, I didn't have to be too careful. Put in the next set of screws. Which one did I use? It was these. base. Put on the base, carefully making sure not to pinch the wires on the, just putting it together. There's a little piece right here. What do you mean battery low? Geez, this thing sucks. Okay, let's try and get this on before the battery runs out. I use the same screw, so it doesn't really matter. I knew that one wasn't cooperating. I think we got a good joystick. We may change batteries and we'll check it out. Welcome back, and this is the little beautiful Mini with its formerly horrible stick that was prone to snapping at the base. Now with this fix, we should have a much stabler joystick. Now if it's any better quality, I don't know. I'm not too actually happy with the performance of it, but at least this reinforcement should make it at least unable to snap. So let's see what the computer can do. Now let's see here. Go to some World Games. So far it seems to be working just fine. We have up, down, left, right. Practice. Let's see, what do I want to practice? How about some cliff diving? Alright, we seem to look good here. This is just a little thing I rigged up for this video. Press your button and see if I remember how to do this. Okay, it goes up, down. It's been a few years since I played this, so I may not know what I'm doing. But hey, that isn't anything new. And yeah, anyway, so we know that works. The joystick seems to be a success, and I'm going to call this a video on the repair. Now for part 2 of the video. Let's see, let's get out of this video, exit game, and we're going over to Jumpman. Where are you? There we go. Mission Impossible. I mean Impossible Mission. Okay, we're going to turn up the volume for this. I want to show.
Stay a while. Stay forever.
Does that sound right in the slightest? Ow. Try that again.
Another visitor. Stay a while. Stay Stay forever.
That doesn't even remotely sound right. Okay. See what I'm thinking? I'm thinking that robot's a little bit on the fast side. Maybe it's just me. See, the sound doesn't seem quite right with the scream either. Yeah, I'm not very skilled at this game. I'm not sure, but I think even the joystick feels a little bit better now that I've done this. It's weird.
Destroy him, my robot.
Okay, that's what I was trying to play to, and see how it sounded weird? Anyway, I'm going to end the video here. And that concludes the video for today. Thank you for watching. I hope it wasn't too amateurish looking. I did my best. Luckily, it worked out just fine. And I'm sure there'll be comments below saying, oh, you should have used safety equipment or something. You know? Okay. Bye. With a little luck, this imitation USB pad may actually do a good job for a replacement. At least I've read this online, so this bonus material is going to prove that. Let's see if it works or not. Well, I figured I'd get a little bit of gaming in now that I've got the new controller. Figured it would be a nice test. So let's see. Some kind of space shooter. Never played this before back in the day. A little hard to understand what I was doing at first there. I was thinking, okay, the bubbles can be shot. What's the skull and crossbones about? I still have no idea. These dragon things apparently do not get shot. There were some arrows and question marks. I figured out I could shoot into that wall. I guess those are things to collect. Common gaming logic there. Four-way shooting, four-way scrolling. That's a pretty nice feature for the old Commodore. Game was pretty hard too. I seem to be collecting 500 points there. And then I hit a warp zone or something. And must have lost too much health. I didn't notice for the health bar at first. But it appears to be right there next to the 1, which I'm guessing right now is 1 player life left. Oh yeah, there's a running clock there. That one confused me right here. And I have to say that I was impressed with the little controller at the time. It felt pretty comfortable in my hands. And the mapping, mostly, as I figured out, seemed to be pretty good, considering you didn't have to tweak with any of the settings at all. This is some game I've never played before, and it reminds me a little bit of a classic shooter called, I think, was Xenomorph. And apparently have a lot of life. Ammunition seemed to be endless. And as far as I could tell, the goal of the game was to shoot everything that was fighting back. I mean, the AI characters reminded me slightly of Halo characters. And you appear to be controlling some sort of, I don't know, cadet or military ensign or something. Not a whole lot to say on this game. But then, after a while, I kind of just got soft-locked into two locations, and I couldn't seem to figure out a way to get it out of it. So, pipe that up to basically not knowing what the game is. Maybe with more practice on it, maybe I could start to understand it better. Now here is one that I did grow up with. Jumpman. A classic that many people will probably understand from back in the day. Basic enough graphics, pure arcade fun. So this little guy, he basically jumps around on these screens, and his goal is to disarm all these bombs. Now every stage is very different from one another, even though there's relatively few things they could do with the whole design. So in this stage right here, you're dodging these little bullets and try not to hit the bottom of the screen, while you have these up ropes and down ropes. While you defuse bombs, it takes out certain sections of the screen. This is like a stage unique rule. And then fire, fire! So when you disarm a bomb, it lights a fire randomly. Well, not really randomly. It's been predetermined where it lights so that you can get a strategy going. But if you're not familiar with the stage, then you're probably going to get surprised by a lot of them. So, and that's kind of a thing with a lot of stages in this game. Is first time you're probably not going to have the best results because you have to learn these stages. Again, we have the dedicated ropes and the bullets. In later stages, though, the bullets change their nature. Sometimes they'll stun you and make you jump in weird directions. And there were at least 2 games to this series, Jumpman and Jumpman Jr. And then they tweaked some other games like it, like Wizard and such like that, that changed new concepts. This one's a pretty graphically challenging shooter, side-scroller, kind of in the vein of Gradius. There might have been upgrades and such like that, but I think to do that I would have needed the keyboard attached. I only did this pure joystick. I didn't do too well on it because, I've never really played this game before. I just understand the general concept of it. So let's move on. Now, many of these games I've played in here I've never actually seen before in my life. This is definitely another one. Kind of reminds me a bit of an old Sega arcade that got home ported called Altered Beast. If this guy was literally crashing their whole party and stuff like that. It's got the ancient Greece feeling going on with it, with Jason and the Argonauts and their endless attack of skeletons. You got some centaurs and horses, and definitely the statues in the background attack like it's the gods don't want you there. Very crazy game. I think I have to give it another try or two at some point. There's a lot of things going on in that screen that I certainly didn't understand what was happening. Seems very arcadey. A lot going on for a Commodore too. Of course, since it was my first playthrough, I didn't do all that well. Luckily, the guy had a lot of health, and I guess he has psychic ability or something like that as an attack. Either that or he really had some bad breath that everybody just wanted to avoid. I don't know. Game over already. This game I struggled to understand a little bit. It seemed to have a menu going on with it, and definitely had some idea of what it wanted to be as a game, but I was struggling with the controls. A lot of these I found wanted to work with the pad, and then there was ones like this that wanted to be the sole button to be like the left shoulder button only, and the other buttons did other things. It was kind of weird. I did a little bit what I could for a trial. As you can see there, it had some shooting capacity. Again, the 4-way scrolling, or 8, whichever it's doing. Pretty impressive little arcade itself. But I never got too far. I mean, this is probably one I need to see a playthrough on, or at least the instruction manual, to understand what's really going on with it. Now, I was becoming pretty comfortable with the pad. It felt nice in my hands, not too cheap. It felt like a imitation NES kind of pad might. Good price. You can buy them on eBay. Called the iNNEXT. Okay, Mafia Kitty, what do you want to do now? I got this cat in my lap. I guess he wants to get on the computer. No, we can't let you do that. This one seemed like an interesting concept, kind of mazy, a little bit arcadey, Arcadian. I was able to get a few screens around on it, but I started going around in circles. Another game probably spend some time on and could understand what's happening. Looked like a very interesting concept. Though I didn't catch on to what was going on with all the instruments, like that little moving bar and whatever. The pad did a pretty good job working with it too. And then I hit this little interface thing. I think it wanted the keyboard. So I just gave up. It's always nice to see special font on this old computer, because that wasn't much of a thing back in the day. I've seen this game played before, but not having any history with it. I couldn't say that I figured out how to get anywhere in it, except for running out of energy, of course. That was pretty easy to do. Definitely a game that required a little bit of skill with the controller. Interesting little piece of music that went with this one named Fire Lord. Also noticed a lot of the games that I sampled were from Houston, and I produced a couple games in the past that I enjoyed a lot, but I wasn't a major purchaser of their titles. Had a very interesting concept going on here, but I struggled to figure out what I could do, and wound up pretty much dying because I was unintentionally robbing this guy, not knowing that, oh, when he looks at you when you're taking it, you go to this little trial thing. I died and died and died from guilt. That was pretty much the whole game. Now, when I revisit this in a later session, I'm sure I can get better at it. Maybe you can get weapons and such, although I'm not fully sure what the whole game's point is. I have to say that I loved the way this three-dimensional effect of theirs worked. Although it was a little hard to navigate, I kept going into the gaps. And then I eventually ran across this little large gap, and I wasn't sure how to truly cross it. It's kind of a problem. But there's this whole interface down there. I mean, maybe one of those interfaces was what I needed to work with. I just didn't understand what was going on. This one was a curious little maze game. But then I ran across this weird jumping physics and everything like that, and I didn't take to it too well. Seemed like it required some getting used to the controls, so I skipped on it pretty quick. Good old California games, yeah? They actually paid for the rights to Louie Louie song. I didn't stick around too much on this one, as I played all these games to death a long time ago, and I was running out of time during the recording, so I just took it to Flying Disc and let it be a demo a little bit. I figured I'd show a little Easter egg in the game, when they allowed the alien to come down and get her. I mean, it's not much of a game otherwise, so it's an interesting little Easter egg you might not know about if you let it sit there for a few seconds. Nice effort with the graphics, and definitely works with the theme, although I think with this one they were starting to run out of ideas of what said California. This one was kind of a racer top-down shooter thing. I've never been a fan of this style of gaming because things come on you way too quick. You almost have to learn the course in advance. Although I did wonder if this one was random or what. Probably wouldn't come back to this game much ever. Seemed to be a go of collecting letters and shooting things, avoiding obstacles. Very twitchy, very quick. It felt like it was even hard to control. There are definitely a lot of better games on the C64 than this one. But at least it's not a shoot-'em-up construction kit game. This was another one of those Gradius type shooters. Side-scrolling, lots going on. Plenty fun, but it's a really hard game too. Since shooters never really been my style of gaming, I didn't make it too far into this, though I could see with a little practice it's probably possible to get in quite a long distance, after losing a few thousand lives. It's nice to see these kind of games being handled on the old C64. And I lost a lot to those secret bullets, that's for sure. If there were other things going on with the game, I couldn't quite tell. A lot going on in that little dashboard of theirs. But I was too busy trying to avoid everything to even look at what was going on down there at the bottom half. And no idea about all these sparkler things. I bet you they're some sort of upgrades or something like that. Maybe you had to press a space bar, but I wasn't using a keyboard, so I don't know. I'm familiar with this game. I knew I wasn't going to be very good at it. Basically a two-directional scroller that's hyper shooting and everything like that. things are on you so quickly that it's nearly impossible to avoid. Plus, you can't be fully sure what you're going to run into from the background, like what happened right there. Definitely a game you have to learn and learn and learn and learn. Best kept to the hardcore shooters, this game is. And this is another game I've become familiar with. Unique concept. It's got imitation 3 dimensions going on. Something seen like in Battletoads. The goal here is to reach the top of the tower. Since this is my first playthrough really on it, I never achieved that. And the game throws other little tricks at you, like falling blocks and fake routes, enemies that are of all kinds of weird types to avoid. You have to figure out the 3 dimensions that are going on. A lot going on in this little game. It was unique for its time. I couldn't figure out how to get over that thing. I think you collect something. Or maybe you shoot it. I don't know. I definitely plan on getting some more time in on this game. One of the better ones out there on this classic system. But it's definitely no easy walk in the park. A strange little spacewalking game or something like that. Seemed to be some kind of orb that could fire and such for you. It was a very weird concept. I got soft locked pretty easily, and I'm not sure what the game expected me to do to get out of this situation. So I gave up on it pretty quickly. Still, I might give it another try or two if I understood what was going on. This is a very nice effort for a 3-dimensional racing game. The Commodore had a few of them. I did at first think the controls were way too twitchy because first curve you hit, just slam into either side and crash. But then I started figuring out that if you didn't go top speed at it, you actually had some control. It made the game kind of fun. I definitely would come back to this one. Nice use of 3D perspective. Seemed to be pretty friendly with the controller and held some promise. Although I might consider not having the volume up on it. It was mostly engine noise and it was just higher revving and such like that. It grinds on the ears. But the play experience is fun enough. In the vein of like Pit Stop 2. Although maybe if there's a port of it there might be a hang-on too. It might be like this. I'm not completely sure. Sometimes these arcade ports were hit or miss. I did like the concept of this one. It felt like it was trying for more than the system usually had. But in that perspective that might have been seen from a ZX or the ZX computer. Using the button made it change viewpoints, and it was maze-like. Unfortunately, I think it got a little too complicated for its good and became hard to work with. I mean, your little whirlwind of a character is really hard to control when he wants to be, or it, or whatever it is. I was able to get far enough into the game to see some kind of elevator interface and something to collect. Yeah, right there. It starts going with platform things like that, and it started becoming a nightmare to control. Too aggressive for its old good, I'd say. But maybe if you got used to the game, it would be a little bit easier. This was definitely one of those experimental kind of games. It kind of controlled how you interfaced with it, and it was weird with 90-degree turning. And it didn't get far at all into it. It just kind of crashed me, and I was like, what? So I left it rather quickly. Not sure I'd come back to it either. I'm not sure exactly what the whole goal of this game was. I think it was meant to be 2 players or something. You made 5 in a row and just considered it a win. So hard to know if there's too much really going on with it. I mean, it looks interesting, but I'm not sure if I was getting the point. Seems like one of those filler games for this system. I was starting to get the idea of what this game was doing. I guess kind of adventure thing, strange notion. I think it said something about you get turned into a frog. And then you're shooting at your enemies or something like that. And there was a large point when I started realizing the little frog was just losing health. I couldn't identify even why, nor did I understand what this cast runes thing was about. It seemed like you moved the joystick interface left and right and shifted the runes. I think you were trying to spell a word or something, but yeah, I don't know. That might be a game to come back to if I understand what's going on. There's things all over the floor, and I don't know if it's just background or if it actually does anything. It seems to have a bit of a gauntlet feel to it that you could destroy enemy generators. This one has a lot of promise. I've even heard about it in recent years. It seems to be a bit of a cartoon-like thing. I'm sure once the interface becomes familiar, it becomes more playable. But it had definite jumping issues at first, using the up because the controller already has the one button. Wasn't completely sure what all the goals were and everything like that. But definitely looked like a promising game. I'll probably come back to it at some point. And I must say that I'm actually pleased that this SNES controller is actually doing a pretty good job. Didn't need to do any fiddling with any interface buttons or anything on the console. It just plug and play easy. Unfortunately, I found with a few of the games it wanted to only work with the L shoulder button, but most of them it was just fine working with the Y button for a shooter, and that feels pretty comfortable. Plus you can use what I believe was the start button to access the regular menu and such like that, so it felt natural to anybody who's ever used a Super Nintendo. Now there might be other controllers out there too that are compatible, but that's pretty much a search for the community. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up the quick preview of the games on this console. Thanks for watching.